Hey, beautiful, wonderful people. It's been a little while since I've sat with you, spoke with you, and shared with you. I just really wanted to digest and really integrate, process these last 2.5 months. They have been huge. I said to a dear friend of mine, I said, it's been like walking into a room and being told something that you cannot be untold. And that's been at times quite challenging. It's been quite painful. It's also been quite liberating. There's a sense of, parts of me kind of falling away, and other parts of me in a way kind of emerging or re-emerging. And that's been kind of profound, and I really wanted to make sense of where I've come from, and importantly where I am, and how I then communicate that going forward within all that I do. And I certainly didn't want to rush that, and that's been a graceful journey. It's just, there's been this sense of just letting that unfold, letting that unravel with no force or no pressure. But what's come up is a sense of absolute conviction and absolute clarity. I kind of, one of my last videos, I said to people, when you look out into the world, what is it that you see? What is it that you feel? What is it that you sense when you look out into the world? And one of the things that, I suggested that, in a way that the world's having this kind of this nervous breakdown, and actually from that kind of that literal sense of everything just kind of in a way kind of falling apart around us, we're seeing it on a global scale. One of the things that we're seeing all around the world is a kind of sense of the seats of power are kind of in some sort of kind of trauma and chaos, and then you've got kind of all this kind of movement of people. And I think that what's coming apparent is that we are in a time of crisis. But I think it's about kind of really understanding how we can work with that, how we can move with that, how we can affect change, transformation and healing as an individual, but importantly as a group of people, as a community. I think that when we kind of, sit and we stop, maybe that's the thing to do, is in this moment, is to take a breath and kind of taking a big, deep breath and breathe in. And as you do, place, I invite you, place your hands on your heart, take a big, deep breath, and just ask yourself, where am I? Where am I in all of this? Where do I find myself in all of this? And if I kind of check in and I kind of place my hand on my heart, the words and feeling that come back, I feel convicted. I feel convicted in my kind of values. I feel convicted in nourishing and nurturing and feeling and sensing, and in a way kind of reweaving those threads that in a way have been kind of eroded over time. Look at the key words that we're using here: feeling, connection, sharing, nourishing, nurturing, change, transformation. There's seven key words that I've shared, and if I kind of look, those words, that language is almost been eroded out of the world, I'm going to share a couple of little stories that are interwoven here very quickly. I don't want this video to be too long, and there's some important things I want to share and weave into this as well. I was sitting there today and I was waiting for a bus, and I look over and there's this beautiful tree there in the distance, and it lost half of its leaves, and there was just this kind of golden half left, and it was red and it was orange, and it was just absolutely beautiful. And there, sitting at the top of this tree, was this crow. He was just sitting there at the top of this tree, and then he took flight. And as he took flight, it brought an immense sense of joy to me, watching it take flight with this big stick in its beak. It was off to make its nest. It was off to form and create and shape its nest ahead of these darker, colder winter months. It was making preparation. It's such a beautiful thing. And I looked around me and I wondered, as I looked and saw people just kind of toing and froing, and I wondered to myself, I wonder who else had noticed that. And I looked and I felt to myself, I don't think many people did. And then suddenly I felt the innate behind me. I felt this surge of energy, and this voice say to me, just think, Shane, over these last 27 years, we have taught you to see what others don't. We have taught you to see the unseen. And that really rung true. It's that sense of seeing what others may not, or seeing what is unseen, and seeing it with transparency, seeing it with clarity, seeing it with truth. And that's why I say to you, I think, when I kind of, had that sense of walking into a room and feeling and sensing and knowing that I've kind of connected with something that cannot be untold. And I kind of, spent quite a deep amount of time, kind of processing the kind of almost the pain that has come with that. But also, I think at the heart of it is, when we look out into that world, is when we start to really connect with what's going on and we emotionally engage with it. It is powerful, yes, it's powerful, but also can be hugely painful. But they're right, it is powerful, because when you kind of transform that from almost despair and a sense of losing hope to something that galvanizes you and motivates you and gets you to absolutely fully stand up, that can absolutely be hugely powerful. It's that sense of moving from being steamrolled by all of this, and this pain and trauma of seeing, the disconnection, because that's absolutely at the heart of this, and it's something I'm going to share with you as we gently move forward. This video will be around 10 minutes, okay? Is at the heart of it is reweaving those threads that bring us all together, I gently, the other part of the story, I gently was sitting there and I was waiting for this bus. There was a gentleman sitting next to me, been sitting next to me for the last 10 minutes or so. And there was this lady that was in her 80s, and she was, gently sitting up, standing up. She was on a crutch, and you could see the pain and discomfort she was in. And the bus pulls in, the drivers are changing over, and the lady just edged her way to the door, hoping to be able to get onto the bus, to be able to take a seat. And these drivers kind of put their back to her, and they were changing over, and I understand that. But it was this sense of not connecting with what was going on around them. And for me, when I looked at that and I stood there, I could see that it was intentional. And I thought to myself, how sad is that? This is a lady of her 80s. she's an elder. She has come from a generation that has always shown great resilience, that has had to get on and get by and make do and not make a fuss. Without a doubt, not make a fuss. And she's not going to ask, she's not going to speak up. And I just thought to myself how sad it is that, you know, that we find ourselves in a place where that happens, and that it's almost normalized and it's become the everyday norm. And I don't believe that that is normal. I believe that in a way what's happened is we've all, you know, if you look at it, and some of the most incredible people that I get to share time with and speak to and speak with, is, you know, that they're coming from places within the community that, you know, are working 50 to 60 hours a week just to get their heads above water. How is that normal? It is not normal. It isn't right. We are designed to thrive, not just survive. And I think that we are moving into a time where it's moving away from the I and the individual. We are moving into the we and the us and the community. Spirit did say they are shifting the conversation. So, you know, going forwards, a big part of what I believe that where I'm being placed is to kind of reweave those threads of community. I want to invite you all onto, I've reworked my social media onto my Facebook page, the Bothy, and at the heart of it is sharing, connecting, feeling, spirit, growth, change, transformation, and community. And kind of reweaving those threads of sharing, you know, sitting around that metaphoric fire and sharing our hearts, our visions, our dreams, our intentions, and growing together and reclaiming our connection to the land, to the innate, to spirit, to each other, and the world around us. You'll see links within the video. You know, I spoke to another lovely lady today who said to me, Shane, beautiful lady, she said to me, you know, Shane, do you know what the word shaman means? Because we were talking about those old indigenous traditions and how relevant they are of today. She said, you know, the word shaman literally means to see. And I think it is. It's about seeing. I think that those guys didn't want to see that. It's too painful to see it, and they're in that rushed and hurried. They're in that pain. They're in that just trying to get through their bloody day, you know. And we all need to just pause, you know. So I invite you over to the page, which is a metaphoric space, to sit by that fire and to pause, to connect with each other, and to connect to the intentions that we can make to almost become a change maker of our time. Speak soon, guys. Lots of love.